Oh, welcome to the kickoff of BLUE42 podcast, where we talking National Football League plus America's team, the Honolulu Blue Detroit Lions, baby. Y'all know who it is. It's your boy Rat out here in Rip City, Portland, Oregon, big repping them Detroit Lions. And I got my guy, you know, the host that does the most out there on the East Coast. Dose, what's happening, baby?
That was fire. That was good. That was good. I don't know. Have you done that before? Like the way you kind of rhyme that together? That was tough because we were talking about, like when I rap, how like I was tying everything together on that one show we did. And you were like, that was kind of fire. Like when we got off stream, you're like, dog, you kind of killed that. So, but anyways, I was thinking of one thing you said there at the beginning and one thing you said there, America's team. I don't know if you saw it or not. The HBO apparently wanted to run it back for a part 2.
I did.
I'm upset that that's not happening. That should happen. A part 2, Hard Knocks. It was fire last year. Go ahead.
It was amazing. So did we already turn it down, or
that's what it sounded like to me? Is it was kind of like they wanted it to happen, but like we weren't gonna have it happen. It seems like everybody's kind of like, nah, we don't want to have to deal with that. But I think we just had we had a really good coaching staff for it. It's gonna be good TV because it wasn't gonna be like forced or boring. Or like with Baker Mayfield mocking his GM, like it was going to be a great coaching staff holding it down because of their personalities. First time I've really watched it, and it actually made me check out old seasons of Hard Knocks to be like, oh man, this is kind of a cool series. But I think the Lions brought it up there because it was also a event of the Lions turning around, getting all that attention, but they were coming in with some steam because they had Hard Knocks and how good they were on there.
I hope we run it back because we've added a lot of new pieces, new faces. It's pretty much the same coaching staff. I think we lost Deuce Staley.
Yeah.
And our defensive line coach, I believe. Yeah, our defensive line coach. I would love to run it back, man. I want to see what these rookies is looking like. The new faces, Cam Sutton, Gardner Johnson. Like we got a lot of big personalities on that defense now, and I think the show would just shine even more, to be honest, because I feel like last year, America got to see our culture, see the coaching staff, and a lot of Aiden Hutchinson family. This year, let's show what CJ Gardner and Cam Sutton's bringing to that defense. They say Kirby Joseph's walking around with some swag now. My guy, Kirby Joseph. So, like, I would love for us to run it back. I hope we do run it back. We're predicted to win the North, and we're predicted to at least make it to the NFC Championship. I may be going a little too far with that one, but I like it. I'm going to go with it.
I don't think you're going far enough on it. We'll save that. Like Tracy Walker, I want to see that guy on Hard Knocks. Like I remember last year we were like asking like, why aren't they showing certain people so they could come back around and hit on certain people that they didn't last year. Anyway, though,
BLUE42.
BLUE42 is going to start off with some NFL talk the same way 42. That we did episode 1, man. I like that. But look, man, last time I did this, I was solo and I did my top 5 offensive and defensive rookie of the year predictions. It's early, so I feel like this is something that people will forget, which is good. So, if this is completely off, that's fine. We can always revisit these, but I wanted to get your top 3. You're going to go with your top 3 because you said there's a 3 finalists. That makes sense. I kind of forced 5 in there, but you'll go with 3 for offense and defense. Here's the top 5. Number 1, best odds. And we're not really throwing odd numbers. I don't think we're just talking like our top 5 most likely in our opinions. We got Bijan Robinson, of course. He's number 1. Bryce Young's number 1. Anthony Richardson's 3. CJ Stroud 4. And then your boy, Jackson Smith and Jigba's 5. With our guy, Jahmyr Gibbs, sitting there at number 6. I want to tell you where my guys were at because, I want to give you a taste of where I'm in my 5. So my number 1 was Anthony Richardson, quarterback for the Colts. I put Bijan at 2, just because I think he's going to get touched. Like, he's the favorite, understandably, but still, you always like to lean quarterback to this. So I'm putting Richardson at 1. I got our guy Gibbs at 3. I think he's going to be huge for the pass game. I put Bryce Young down at 4. I feel like he had to get on there somehow. And then at 5, I put Jordan Addison, Minnesota Vikings receiver. And then my honorable mention was Tank Dell for the Texans.
I think that's a solid list. I'm going to start from 3 and work my way up. So number 3, I think it's going to be our guy, Jahmyr Gibbs. I could really see him balling out this year. Like you just touched on, they're going to use him in the passing game. He's also going to get some running, getting some carries. 800 rushing yards, and I'm going to go with 800 to 900 receiving yards. I really think he's going to be a huge key in our offense. I can't give you a touchdown total but I'm going to give you, I think he's going to be a minimum of 1,600 total yards. I don't know how he's going to get it as far as rushing and passing. He may get a little here, a little there, but I think he's going to finish with at least 1,600 total yards. That's before we even throw in touchdowns. I think he automatically becomes a finalist because of the total yards usage right there. And he's going to have mad highlight plays. I feel like highlight plays also get you into talks of becoming like an award winner and things like that. Number 2, I think it's going to be JSN out there in Seattle. I think he's going to slide into that number 2 option. They're throwing that ball out there in Seattle. DK Metcalf obviously is going to get all the coverage rolled to him, and I think he's going to eat within the slot, and he's going to become Geno Smith's best option. Yardage, I'm guaranteeing he's going to have over 1,000 yards. I can't give you touchdowns just yet, but he will have over 1,000 yards. He's going to have somewhere about 80 catches. So I think that's going to slide him into number 2. And number 1, your guy, like you just hit on, it's going to be Bijan Robinson. They got a second-year quarterback. Way to protect him is to hand the ball off to the running back. He's going to have, I'm going to give him 1,300 yards rushing and a couple hundred in passing. I mean, he was the top running back taken, one of the top graded running backs. Therefore, I think he's going to be that offensive rookie of the year.
Right. No, that makes sense. Now, something interesting to that, what you said. First thing, the reason I didn't put, because I have like my rough copy here. I had JSN at 2 and I took him off. I was worried about like the production from receiver 3 because you said like you think they'll focus on DK, which makes sense. Like it definitely makes sense. The focus goes to DK, and then you wonder about Lockett. Like the receiver 3 wasn't super productive last year, but I think to make your point, Jackson Smith-Njigba is like a much different wide receiver 3. Like he's a first round pick. He's legit. So he might kind of force his way to like, we have to get this guy the football. And then you at the end there said Bijan 1,300 rushing yards, and you said a couple hundred receiving yards. Based on what you said for Jahmyr Gibbs, now I know it's passing yards versus rushing yards, but it sounds like you think it may be kind of similar in terms of total yards between the two, because 1,600, like we're talking almost like 100 per game, right? I mean, that's huge. So I like that you got Jahmyr Gibbs in there. That's really what I'm trying to say.
Maybe even number 1, dang it, shoot. You never know.
I was hoping for you putting him at 1. Yeah, I was hoping for a really bold.
I couldn't go bold.
That's not bad. You got him in there. You only got 3 finalists, you said, so you put him in there. I respect that. That's pretty good.
I didn't want to get a homer. I couldn't do the homer pick. Go ahead.
No, but we are going to revisit this topic. Not this topic specifically, but we're going to talk Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit later in the show because there's something that we want to talk about, address kind of. But let's move on to the defensive side. I'm going to set the table again. So defensively, the top 5, Will Anderson 1. He looks like he's a pretty heavy favorite. And Jalen Carter also has a separation between him and number 3. They got Jalen Carter 2. I'm a little surprised by that just because of snaps in general. Tyree Wilson 3. Devin Witherspoon at 4. And then they got my man Christian Gonzalez with almost the same odds at 5. But actually, now I'm looking at it, Witherspoon and Tyree are tied with the same odds for 3 and 4. But that's your top 5. And then again, our guy Jack Campbell sitting on the outside at plus 1,400, number 6. Oh, my bad. I'll let me give you my top 5. I got to give you my top 5 because go
ahead.
I didn't, because I originally
I got a dark horse. I got a dark horse for this one.
Be similar here. So at number 1, I have Emmanuel Forbes.
Oh, okay.
For Washington, he is
okay.
According to these odds that we're looking at, Sports Betting Dime, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's 9th. I got him number 1. Number 2, I put Devin Witherspoon. Now I like Gonzalez. I just wonder about with that defense, and I think they have 2 legit number 2s, 2 legit outside corners already. If he's going to be able to get the production or the flash plays that Witherspoon will be able to, I think they'll find a spot for him immediately. So I put him at 2. I put Will Anderson at 3. At number 4, I put our guy Jack Campbell because I think he'll be across the board production type of dude. Like if he gets out there, let's say if he starts week 1, I wouldn't be shocked if he had like at least 90 tackles, couple interceptions, couple sacks, and it'll be like a really strong stat line. And then number 5, I put Will McDonald, the 4th for the Jets. He was like a mid-round edge rusher. And then my honorable mention was Derek Hall, the day 2 pick for Seattle out of Auburn. So, the honorable mentions were a little bit like beyond round 1. It just kind of threw in some names there that I thought could get some like real production year 1. So, man, I want to hear your number 3 because you said you had a dark horse.
My number 3 is going to be Will Anderson. Let me tell you why. He has no other help along that defensive line. So offensive lines are going to be sliding to him. They're going to be chipping him. Not saying he's not a really good pass rusher, but this is the NFL. You're going against grown men now. You're going against top tier offensive coordinators. I just don't see him exploding year one until they get some more help along that defensive line, because they're going to scheme for him. So let's send the protection that way. And if we want to, let's chip him. But I'm not saying he's not going to have a good year, but I think he's going to come in at number 3. Number 2 is going to be Devin Witherspoon for Seattle. I think him sliding in as that number 2 corner, he's going to get a lot of chances to showcase that he's a baller. He's going to get tested. Now, if he can rise to the occasion, he honestly can win Defensive Rookie of the Year if he can rise to the occasion, because I feel like he's going to get tested a lot. So I'm going to put him at 2, and he's going to have a lot of opportunities to make plays. So he's going to be number 2. And number 1, it was your number 5. I think it's going to be Will McDonald. I think he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, because he's sliding into a good defensive line with the Jets. They already got people they need to focus on. And to be honest, he had the best bend out of anybody in this draft class. His bend was better than Will Anderson.
Yeah.
Now, I think he's going to have 10 plus sacks. Lock it in right here on BLUE42.
Okay.
Lock it in. Yeah, he's going to have Will McDonald's going to have 10 plus sacks, and I think he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year for the New York Jets. Watch.
I love,
because he's not the focal point. That. He's not the focal point. You know what I'm saying? Because they got Jermaine Johnson from last year. You got Quentin Williams on that D line. He's gonna slide in and get in where he fit in. Watch. Will McDonald's gonna win Defensive Rookie of the Year. That was my dark horse. You know what? You had him at 5, but I think he's gonna get number 1.
If you're listening, this is the clap of the breakdown there. First off, real quick, the point on Will Anderson I think is great, because even though I thought he was very complete, I didn't think he was like an elite pass rusher, at least immediately. And my thing is coming in and playing good run defense, is that going to give you the shine to win this award? I don't think it does. Not for that position. It's about the sacks.
Right.
And then, man, Will McDonald, I love it. I put him on there. I thought I was bold when I put him at 5. You put him at 1. I love that, because he's going to kick out into a role that fits him out now that he's not at Iowa State anymore. And I'm with you, man. This is a really nice defensive line, and they need that piece that's just like a pass rush specialist to me. I love that.
Why? Thank you.
Yes. Quick transition here. This is kind of like an off topic. We're going to have these thrown in here, but anybody listening, I want to get your thoughts, comments. I don't know how it works on like podcast things. You can comment. You can comment or something. But here's what I want you to do, man. Quick question round. We'll put you on the spot. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, okay? 30 seconds, and you need to explain why or why not. Is all of this alien stuff that we're hearing legit? Do you believe in aliens? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe in aliens. We can't be the only human being, like we can't be the only people out there. Like, yes, there's something else out there in outer space. Like, yeah, I believe in aliens, and I don't know about all this alien talk going on, so you're gonna have to like fill me in on that. Are we spotting aliens now in New Mexico? Where they being spotted at? Like, what's going on?
You know, I'm hearing it like every day. I look up aliens, you know, just because I'm starting to hear it, and there's just been, you know, they've been leaking like little footage of like, oh, there's something flying out there, and now all of a sudden, it was over one of the lakes in Michigan. I don't remember which one. It was like Michigan, but it was they were saying that they were shooting at the they were shooting at the spacecraft, and they were like, well, what happened to the spacecraft? And from my understanding, they said nothing happened to it. So I don't know like how that just happens, but apparently there was a few witnesses as this was going down. There was some action happening in the sky, and I'm saying like, man, I want to see one of these. That's kind of like my whole takeaway is like, if this is real, I hope to see one, because my whole thing is like, I like the idea of alien movies, but there's not enough good ones. You know what I'm saying? To me. So if there was some like real aliens, the alien movies are going to start to flood in. We got to get some good ones out of that. So that's really my whole takeaway. That was good. I put you on the spot and you had an answer. I like that. Next topic that we're going to move into is, and we don't have to spend a ton of time here because it feels like it's starting to, at least one of these players, it feels like we're starting to kind of understand what might happen. But couple guys, they've had their names thrown out there. I don't know if either of these dudes are, well, I think one of them, obviously, they're going to sign obviously they're going to sign somewhere. But the Chase Young one, we don't know if he's going to get traded. But let's start with DeAndre Hopkins first, because I'm going to pull this back. Shout out to Bleacher Report. I was getting prepared, doing the show, and I said, and I texted you, I was like, Rad, like if the Lions could trade for anybody, like what would you go after? And it felt good because, you know, your response was like, I don't know. I mean, we only need a receiver. Like that's the only thing that I could think of that was like a clear cut need, because I mean, some of the guys that we added, we'll talk about them a little more, are projections because they're draft picks, but we added those. So you don't want to just add some on top of it and not let them play. Starting off with DeAndre Hopkins, my initial thought when I saw this was he was going to sign with the Patriots, because I know the background with him and Belichick, and, you know, they seem to have a good relationships, and they need weapons, and they seem to not be able to draft them at all. They draft tight ends. They seem lost in that sense. So them just going out signing a proven piece would just be easy, I think, for them to say, this is going to get someone that knows what he's doing. Plus, they have Bill O'Brien over there now, so I don't know if there's some connection there. But my question to you is, I guess, where do you think he's going to go? But I'll tie it really for you more so to the Lions side is, do you think the Lions should be interested in potentially going after a DeAndre Hopkins? And I want to make one more point before you go off on this, just to kind of set the table a little bit. So what I've been hearing, and I don't know if this is true, but he's looking for a deal similar to the Odell deal, or the Odell deal. Maybe you've heard that. And Odell's deal is set up where, you know, he has 3.9 mil cap it this year, but he's heavily backloaded in terms of he's got a big time void year next year, which is 11 mil. So it's mainly just a lot of guarantees. I think it's over 13.8 million in guaranteed signing bonus was the deal that he was given by the Ravens. So he's looking for something similar to that. Now for Lions, I've talked about this a few times, how, you know, we have potential money to backload here. We still have over 20 million in cap space, according to Over the Cap, after the signing of Jack Campbell. So I'm looking at the Lions being able to roll some of that over, potentially new golf contract. But that's the kind of deal we're hearing. What are your thoughts about DeAndre Hopkins, potentially to the Lions or somewhere else?
For the Lions, I mean, I think we do need probably one more receiver. I would love to have D-Hop. I mean, I think he's still a top 5, top 8 wide receiver in NFL. He's getting up there a little in the age. So as far as like that money, is it worth to spend that type of money for a 31-year-old wide receiver? Also, it came out that he really doesn't like to practice. And I mean, that's what I mean. I read that in Arizona, he doesn't really like to practice. So, like, is that going to fit with our culture in Detroit? I don't know if that's going to fly. Plus, we got a bunch of young receivers who's hungry, who wants to get better. And if they look over and they see some veteran who came here, got this money, and he ain't practiced, I get he's DeAndre Hopkins. I get he's one of the greatest to play the game, but that's not setting a good tone if we just letting people not practice. Especially you're a new guy. It ain't like you've been with the team for 5 years and, you know, you've earned that right. So on the field, he's amazing. We know what Hopkins can do. Can he help us win some football games? 100%. But if he's not coming in and willing to practice every day, I don't want him to be a Lion, because we have some type of culture here where people are hungry and ready to die for Dan Campbell. Now, where I think he could end up and where I think he should go is to the Cleveland Browns. Go get back with your boy Deshaun Watson. Okay. You got Amari Cooper up there with you, too, so you ain't got to carry all the workload as far as receiving. Battling in the AFC North, it's not like he's going to a poo-put team, because on paper, the Cleveland Browns is, I'm just going to say top 8 on paper as far as talent. I think he should go up to Cleveland, get with his old quarterback, his boy, get with Watson, and he ain't got to carry that load, like I said, because he has Amari Cooper. I think Cleveland would be a good fit. I kind of want him to go with Cleveland. The AFC North is going to be I think it's going to be the toughest division this year. You got Cincy, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. Those 4 teams right there are all somewhat dogs. Go in there and jump in the North, bro. That's where I want him to go. I want him to go to Cleveland. I don't want him to go jump on with Miami, nothing like that. Like, Miami's already getting too many players. At this point, don't go join that. Now you just doing too much.
Interesting. See, I didn't expect you to go there, but I did see, and this was a while back, some of the odds they had. The Browns were first in odds a while back, but they have cap space too. Like, at least by this latest update that I had here, it was 15.8 million cap, so they could do it. Patriots had some cap as well. They visited the Titans, he visited the Patriots. My concern, though, real quick, just on Hopkins in general. So he's actually been really healthy. Like, I didn't realize this. He never played fewer than 15 games prior to 2020. So that was a stat that I came across, but I didn't know he was that healthy. But you see, like 2021, right? He had the torn MCL, which carried over, and then he was suspended in 2020, but that's not an injury. The concern, I guess, is because last year, 9 games, 64 receptions, 717 yards. He's still super productive. The concern would be that he's going into year 11. And I know, like, historically, that's when receivers tend to kind of drop off. But then the flip side is like, well, okay, well, if you give him a 1-year deal, and if we have cap space, we don't have to necessarily backload the deal. And what's really the risk? Like, other than just rolling the cap over, what's really the risk of doing it? If he falls off, and then we move forward because the money's on this year. I'd like to see him go to the Patriots personally, because I want to see what Mac Jones can be in the NFL, and I think they need a receiver over there really bad. So I'd like to see that happen. Here originally, like, hey, he's trying to win. He wants to go to a contender. Then he's like, oh, they got to have a defense. I didn't hear the thing about practice, but if that's true, he would be terrible for Hard Knocks. We have Amo over here who just got suspended. Like, you don't want a guy that, if he's not going to doesn't want to practice, and you got the young dudes over. We got a lot of young guys in that room. Like, no, we want to set the right example over here.
It's editing me. I just wanted to hop in here real quick to make a little point on this, thinking through this and looking at some of my notes with DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins did also bring up with some of the things that he was originally looking for. One of those things was a quarterback that basically brings guys together along with a good defense, because defense wins championships. But it does seem to, the Cardinals have been a little bit messy the last couple of years with just how that's gone, the Kyler Murray contract, all of those things. And maybe it is this, if he was able to land in an environment with a stronger culture, these kind of things wouldn't necessarily be out there. And he just wants to land in a place that's a little bit more stable. So maybe a place like the Lions, you wouldn't hear any of those issues. But it is worth noting because Brad brought this up and I hadn't heard of it before. Definitely had a few notes that I had written down on DeAndre Hopkins, some clips as well from just watching the player, and still a lot of things that you like about his game. There's talk about the decline, but you talk about the football intelligence, the field awareness, the way that he attacks the ball, fills in the zone holes. He still has some juice. You can see when he's getting upfield, the over-top swim move that he utilizes off the line of scrimmage. You see him beat guys like Surtain and things like that off the line of scrimmage. And there's just urgency at the catch point. He's got some circus catches, and I do feel like there's a lot that a young player could learn from him. Now, yeah, I had some like little knocks of like maybe losing some gas out of his brakes. He's probably not the same player that he was a while ago, or maybe getting a little loose with the football. He kind of just carries it around like Reggie Bush or those guys that kind of just hold it with one hand. But if he's locked in, definitely seems like a guy that you could learn a lot from.
The Titans receiving group is terrible. So, they could really use it. I don't know if you ever just like looked up the Titans receiving core, like on our lads. It's like, oh, wow, that's pretty awful. Chase Young, look, I think he's going to cost more than this if he was moved. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option, so this is the final year. But when Jeff Okudah, of course, was moved, it didn't take much. It was, I believe it was, what was it, round 6 pick that we got in return? It was round 5. I think Chase Young would take more than that, because I think the difference is Chase Young, when he's played, it's been very small sample size because of injuries. But when he's played, he's actually played really well. Like, he's had those spurts of playing really well. For Okudah, it was like just trying to get to like a solid level of play, and then it was like also just trying to get him on the field. But Young's played well already. He just hasn't played a ton. Do you think that kind of player makes sense for the Lions?
Yes. I would love for us to go get Chase Young, especially if we can get him for the low. I think his value is a little higher than Okudah's, but I would be willing to give up a 3rd-round pick to get Chase Young. I think he still has a lot in the tank. He just needs to stay healthy. Yes, we have 2 of them. Why not use one? Did you get that article? Yeah. See what I'm saying?
I did. Good look. Yep. Good look.
I just seen him. I just sent him an article about that D-Hop not liking the practice. Because he said he hasn't read it, so I want to make sure my guy can, get his eyes on it. Anyways, back to Chase Young. I would love to get Chase Young to add him, but you got to think he's on a contract year. He's on a prove-it deal, and we love prove-it deals. You get in here, you stay healthy, ball out with Aiden Hutchinson. He's instantly going to make our defense better if he can stay healthy. And we have so many defensive linemen / edges and 5 techniques. He really ain't got to get that many snaps. He could become a rotational player. So if we didn't really want to put him in on rundowns, cool. Play the man on the passing downs, and he gonna eat. You got to think. You got Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, Chase Young, and you can pick the other 4th joker. You could throw anybody in. We're gonna get after you on 3rd and long. Those 3 right there gonna get after you on 3rd and long. You could put me in at that point. We're going to get after the quarterback, dog. Like, I'm being serious. Yes, I would give up a 3rd-round pick to go get Chase Young today. I don't even know why we ain't pulled the trigger, because we love prove-it deals, and he's on that.
Yeah.
He's still young, and we know his college film was. His college film was probably better than Aiden Hutchinson's, dog.
Yeah, he was nuts.
We'll send you Julian with him. Julian Okawara, or he can have him too.
Look, you just said something that I actually had written down. I don't know what this is from, but I wrote down like an idea of Chase Young trade, and I said a round 3 pick plus Julian Okawara. That could be maybe some sort of compensation that could
great minds think alike.
So look at that. You like read it off the paper, and I was looking for.
We've never even talked about this. Hey, great minds. Hey, throw him an edge back, bro. Like y'all worried about losing an edge, we'll give you one. We'll even sweeten it throwing Charles Harris if you want him too. There you go.
Man. Take him too. Okay, well, here's the thing.
Yes, right? I would do this. Yes.
Look, to your point, it's a proven deal. He's 24 years old. Just a quick background on the injuries. He had a groin injury in 2020. 2021 was a torn ACL. What I did like, though, and he only played in 3 games last year, like carried. But the thing I did like is he returned for 3 games this past season. So, he didn't just not play anymore. He did return. The issue would be, because I was thinking about this, and we're all aware of it, but the issue would be is that, to your point with Romeo, guy like that who restructured his deal, basically just took a pay cut to come back on his last year of his deal, because he was originally given a big deal, like 3 years, $37 million. And then Charles Harris, of course, he's still on the 2-year deal. Both those guys really didn't play last year. Really, since they've gotten paid, they haven't played. And that was the first major injury for Romeo. The issue with trading for a guy like Chase, like let's say even Chase Young is healthy, let's say all 3 of them are healthy to start the year. Well, now I think it's like, okay, he's going to he has to take snaps. He has to take snaps, I think, from Romeo and Charles. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Are the Lions kind of like, okay, we're moving on from that already? Because that's what you would be doing essentially. And then on top of it, even if he plays well, now you have to extend him. Maybe you have an easier way to bring him back, but you have to extend him to a pretty nice contract, which you could argue is the same exact situation for Romeo and Charles. So there's that, even if they played well. And I think the case with Chase, to the case for getting Chases, I believe his ceiling is definitely higher. Now, Romeo was balling. Romeo was balling before he got hurt, and then he just looked. Yeah, Romeo was balling. He earned that big contract, right?
He was cool. He was cool.
He had the 10-sack season. He was balling.
He was cool.
Yeah, he was a really good pass rusher. He wasn't like the elite category, but he was trending. And then all of a sudden he gets hurt and he doesn't look the same last year. So they're saying he looks better this year. Either way, you're going to have to pay one of those guys. You could argue, if you made the case that, hey, look, the ceiling's higher than both of those players. To your point, if we can make the swing, maybe if it doesn't take a lot to bring him in, you're going to have to pay some new edge rusher next year anyway, outside of essentially James Houston.
Let me jump in and correct myself here. He's set to be an exclusive rights free agent. So essentially the Lions can get James Houston back next season for a minimum type of deal and basically no competition to bring him back if they want him back after this season. So I think he's probably the key piece in all of this because, of course, if James Houston goes out there and balls and the Lions want to get him on the field as much as possible and he proves that he can be even more than just a pass rush specialist, you can basically get him back for, now I don't want to say for free, but super cheap next season, and then it would make sense to not make this type of move. But that would be a decision that you would have to make now versus then.
Try to figure out how to make James Houston an all-down player. So I think Chase Young is the one that's interesting. The D-Hop one, to me, I don't think it's really something that we really need to pursue. But the Chase Young one, I do think is interesting, especially if it didn't cost a lot, because that'd be nasty to have Chase Young and Hutchinson if they were both healthy.
Those would be our rush ends for the future. I would go all in on this Chase Young. I'm serious. I would give up a third and a player if need be. And if he's taking snaps away from Romeo and Harris, okay, cool. Yeah. You just said he has a higher ceiling. He's younger.
Well, hey, Charles was a round 1 pick, and Charles played well before he was.
Charles did okay, but I feel like Chase could still be elite. Neither one, Romeo or Charles, is elite to me. I feel like Chase still could tap in and be elite. He just got to stay healthy and on the field. I would do that in a heartbeat. And at that point, everybody's fighting for a contract. Yeah, we did make Buddy take a pay cut. We're low-key saying we have moved on from you, Romeo, which is okay. Because he ain't elite. We're trying to get elite people on this defense.
This is my understanding.
Go get him.
I could be wrong. But if you acquired him, his cap hit would be like $5.67 million, I think, this year. That's really not bad.
Great.
That's really cheap, actually. So then you would have to extend him. My idea was based on what the Lions could be rolling over, and they still possibly could with this move. But I still like the idea of potentially front loading a little bit of a Goff new contract. Like, let's say Jared did well this season and they were like, hey, let's lock him up for an extra year, but we can potentially front load that a little bit. And that way we can get out of that deal. I compared it to when the Niners did it with Jimmy G when they first brought him in because they had a lot of cap space.
Right.
Like the Lions could do something similar and just make it short term. That way, if, it's like, oh, okay, we want to give Hooker a shot now 2 years on the road, you can get out of that deal. So that would be maybe a potential complication. But again, to the point of, look, here's the thing, right? The Lions don't have 2 first-round picks anymore going forward unless something changes. So it's like, does that first-round pick go to an edge next year? No, I mean, is that going to be a James Houston with 3 down roll and then you got to pay him? Or do you kind of just like, okay, we're going to play a little bit different schematically. We only need like the one pure Russian and Hutch. Like, I don't know. Quick, the Jeff Okudah trade was a 5th-round pick. Kirby Joseph, Ali McNeil. Like, we've had some dogs in that round. So I don't know if I want to give up one of those draft picks, man. Look, it feels like it's getting here way too fast, but we got some deals coming our way with St. Brown. After this year, they're going to be able to negotiate. They only got the 1 year left. So you got St. Brown, you got Ali McNeil. Like, to me, those 2 dudes are going to be taken care of, especially St. Brown. That dude's going to get his money. So you got those coming up, and then Penei Sewell will hit his 5th year. They're going to pick that up, I'm sure. So you got some dudes they're going to pay from that first draft class coming up here soon. So that's the concern that I have, is that if you're putting that kind of money to Chase Young, because here's the deal, Brad. You give up a 3rd-round pick, right? And Chase Young might just be a free agent after this year. So for you, is it more that you're trying to say, like, we're doing it for this year because we're going in now? Because you could argue, well, if we just want Chase Young long-term because we know we got to pay him, let's just wait till after the season when he goes to free agent, because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So if no one's going to trade for him, we assume that he's going to become a free agent. Let's just throw money at him without having to give up a draft pick.
On it because we are trying to win now. We're predicted to win the North, so bam, we're already in the playoffs. When you get to the playoffs, when you get to the dance, everybody get a shot at the dance. Everybody can win it. You just go out and play some good football. You win a Super Bowl. I want to get him in our locker room a year early. Get him around our people, our culture, get him to buy into that Detroit fighting style. Then when it comes time to re-sign him, you get him on honestly, if he came in and let's say he dropped 10 sacks. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing us, we probably put him on another 1-2 year deal. Get him in annually $10 million a year. Get him a 2 year, 25 million
deal.
I mean,
after 10 sacks, man, that dude looking I gotta think he's looking for the deal,
I would want the hometown discount. Like, you get around this culture, you see what we building, and we went to the playoffs. I feel like he's more likely to give a hometown discount as opposed to waiting to the offseason. Everybody's shooting money at him, and he ain't even been in our locker room to feel our culture or see what our atmosphere, our crowd is about, fans. Like, nah, I want to get him a year early so we can plant that seed. And then let's say he balls next year, we can get him for a low-key discount. That's how I want it to be.
No, I got to flip it though. Just because we talking about it. Let's look at the pessimistic view. Let's say we traded for him. I got to throw it out there. Let's say we gave a round 3 pick. He comes in. Dude plays 3 games this year. 1 sack. What do we do?
I'm cool with that. At least we shot our shot.
You're cool with the risk. Okay.
We shot our shot.
That. You got to take the swing. You believe in the guy, you take the swing.
Hey, we shot our shot. I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right. I like it. I know I texted you when Dalvin Cook got released from the Vikings, which is going to tie in really well to our Jahmyr Gibbs talk. But he got released, and then now we're seeing Daniel Hunter. He's holding out, and we know he's a dog. Like that's a beast of a pass rusher. He's only 28 years old, so it's just kind of weird to see that, right? So what I say? You said premier pass rusher. What I say? That I use like a weird word.
A beast. No, you didn't. I was just throwing it out there.
He's I like premier. That sounds more official. But over here at BLUE42, that's not what we do. See,
okay.
Look, I'm
you rhyme. Hey, he got a rhyme in, folks.
The problem. This is the issue that we have. You got to step in because this is what
2 years.
You thought this was a podcast. This is an album. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Anyway, look, it could be way too early to say this because I know this year there was. I remember we were doing mock drafts and we saw it. If Hendon Hooker's there, Vikings are taking Hooker, and they didn't. He ended up falling around 3, but we thought they would. They didn't. They went with a receiver like the guy that can, immediately replace Thielen. But I do think that we're going to end up looking back here, and the cap that they're going to potentially open up with some of these moves they haven't made. They've let go of some vets. Look, they got a nice defensive coordinator in there, and it was Brian Flores now. I think what's going to happen, and we're going to look back very soon and see that the Vikings took a big pivot and they're going to end up trading away Hunter. If it does happen, the pivot's going to happen and it's going to be to go find the next quarterback. And I would not be shocked if it was this upcoming year's draft class. So if Hunter gets traded, I'll say it now, the round 1 pick, wherever it will be for the Vikings next year, will be a quarterback. That's my hypothesis.
I mean, I think they're in rebuild, reload mode. Also, they cut Dalvin Cook, who I believe is their second best player on offense. That's saying something. I don't care if they went out and drafted some running backs. They got Ty Chandler. Is it Madison? Dalvin Cook was the best running back in the NFC North, hands down. At one point, he was top 5 in the NFL. He still could be in top 5. So I think they're in full blown rebuild mode with and Kirk Cousins already said we ain't about to renegotiate until next. Like, Kirk, you ain't coming back. Let's be real. Minnesota is now officially moved on from you, bud. They just ain't said it just yet because they want to come out and keep face clean. But nah, it's over for them. It's a full blown rebuild. I like your prediction where they're going to get a quarterback this coming year's draft because that's what it's looking like.
It's weird that you can kind of do both, right? I mean, they did win 13 games last year, they won the division, but then at the same time, I could definitely understand why they could still look at that and be like, okay, we're going a different way. Like we want a new quarterback after the way that we lost. But it's like, how do you do that? So you might move on to some of the vets. It's like, how do you get a quarterback when you're kind of where they're probably going to be? Because even if they take a step back, we don't expect them to be terrible this year. What, like 9-8 wins? So it's like you're still going to be in a weird spot to try to land a quarterback. I think it's somehow going to happen, though. They'll find a way to do it. Jahmyr Gibbs topic. Now, look, man, I'm going to read what the article says. We'll kind of break it down. I want to get your thought because you haven't seen this yet. And I haven't told you none of the notes that I came up with. So I got some notes here, man. I'm ready for this one. Okay. But I don't want to like blast this article or nothing. Shout out Bleacher Report, man. But it's I think that this running back topic in general is something that I'm assuming a lot of Lions fans were thinking when we took this, especially once we came back and took an off-ball linebacker in the first round. I heard it, Lions not taking premium positions and all that kind of stuff. But I think this running back talk is still going to have a lot of this attention going forward, just because of who you took and where you took him and based on how our defense finished last season. So I think this article is I think I can kind of flip it and give you like a different perspective on some of this. So anyways, let me read through
Okay.
this. It's a short little post here. They got Jahmyr Gibbs' face on there. We see you. It says this: the Detroit Lions could have simply done. Oh gosh, I can't read. Let me restart. The Detroit Lions simply could have done so much more with this pick, even if they traded down again and compiled more talent to support the exciting core that nearly took them to the playoffs in 2022. Okay, now here's their first point. This is a quality roster that posted a top 10 DVOA rating from Football Outsiders last season. Now that's defensive adjusted value over average. First off, I didn't even know that was a thing. That's shocking to me. Okay, I don't. That's a little shocking. Like, hey, we got better second half. I throw the pass defense stats, but top 10. Okay, I'm a little shocked by that. But anyways, and when they were on the clock at 12 in April, that roster already contained DeAndre Swift, who's just 24 years old and is coming off a season in which his 5.5 yards per attempt ranked him second among running backs with as many carries as he had, 99. Okay, we'll start there. So the point that I focused on here is how they basically, first off, I think one thing is overlooked in this article. And I think we got to remember as Lions fans, right? Hey, we did trade back. Like, it's not like we came into the draft with pick 12. And when I look at, based on how I thought of the players, and I think, you're kind of in agreement, I think, with me here. When it came to being at 6th pick, I thought we'd go Carter. Some people didn't think, we were interested in him because we know all the off the field stuff and whatever, we know all the questions. So that was the only guy to me, that I thought we'd go with. Outside of that, I had some real questions, right? The only other guys that the Lions could have taken at that 6th spot if they had not moved that would have made sense to me would have been Tyree Wilson that the Raiders took, which, I could argue he's a big time. I think he's a pretty big project at edge anyway, which wouldn't have been terrible, but he's a project there. Bijan Robinson at 6, who went at 8, which is just another running back, or Jalen Carter, who ended up falling all the way to the Eagles, had to move up and go get the guy. Even the Bears didn't. The Bears could have took him. And they're like, So
right.
That's the first point I think that has to be brought up because ultimately that trade, we gave up pick 81, but it also landed us Sam Laporta. So we have to throw in the fact that we also got the tight end, right before the tight end run started taking place. So that's the first point I want to make. But I want to get your thoughts, and I'll bounce back to it on what they said there about the fact that we had DeAndre Swift. He was only 24, and he was coming off a season where he averaged 5.5 to carry on 99 attempts. I heard you speak while I was reading that. What's your thoughts?
So I think that I like how whoever that was who wrote this threw in that 5.5 yards of carry. Now, if we remember, he had some explosive plays. He was popping first, was it 3-4 weeks? Because at one point Swift was averaging like 9 yards a carry, 10 yards a carry. Let's be real. He was popping. But as fans, we know Swift's gonna get hurt, and we won't see this Swift again because he did it the year before. Swift starts off hot, bro. Then he'll get that little nagging injury, and he'll never run hard again. He's gonna miss some games. Then he's gonna play, but he's gonna be on a snap count. He did that the rest of the year. Swift went out there just like every down, like, you know what I mean? They weren't rotating downs. It was like Jamal, Craig will slide in, and then you'll see some Swift. Like, no, because once Swift gets hurt, he loses that edge, and then he becomes on a snap count. So he tries to throw out the 5.5 yards a carry. Like, bro, that got inflated those first 3-4 weeks where he was averaging 10. Swift was very injury prone. We knew that. You didn't know what Swift you was gonna get in on a week in, week out basis. Now I'm gonna tell you, I was a Swift fan. We both love Nick Swift though. I was a big Swift fan, but he never could show consistency of being available. And then when he was available, we didn't know if we was going to get that Swift from week 1 through 3, or we going to get this mid-year, end of the year Swift where he just kind of running out of bounds and things like that. Okay. I think they're two completely different running backs. Swift is quicker than fast. Gibbs is quick and fast. Let's put it like that.
Ooh,
you see what I'm saying?
Okay, that was deep. Little double.
It's facts though. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
We know Swift can break an 80-yarder. He would get caught, but he has choppy feet, solid vision, good hands, played hard some games. Gibbs has all of that. And then they say we wasted a pick on pick 12. What was really there at 12 though, to be real? Like, there was some receivers. Gonzalez was sitting there. Cansey was sitting there. If you think about it, it wasn't a lot of like, those players are good players. Don't get it twisted. But those players that we could have, like, that I just named, we could have took at 18 also. So the pick of Gibbs, I am not mad at it because everybody knows I wanted Gibbs when the draft season started because I seen how explosive he was. And then he's getting player comp Kamara and Jamal Charles. And if you watch his film, he is smooth like Jamal Charles and Kamara. And he can bring that second element, which is the receiving and things like that. And they've already been lining him up at receiver. So it's like if we get Kamara / Jamal Charles at pick 12, ain't nobody about to be mad. Like I said to you, if they did a redraft, Kamara would have been picked in the top 10. Let's be real. He would have been picked in the top 10. So if he's anything like Kamara, we got us a steal, bro. He come out and drop those 1,600 total yards. Ain't nobody gonna be talking about, well, dang, they took him at pick 12. They should have waited to 18. Nah, bro, go get your player now before he gets snagged up, and then we're gonna be going against him every year. This dude runs a 4.3 40, and it shows on film. This Gibbs pick, I'm not mad at that at pick 12. I think it was a good pick, and I'm gonna stand by it. And I think Gibbs is gonna be a baller. My bad, bro. I know I went to going, but I'm tired of these reports of like we're the running back position this, the running back position that. We are a running team. The Detroit Lions run the ball, so why not get the most explosive dual threat running back in the draft? We got it there.
All I was gonna say is save some ammo, man, because like the articles.
My bad.
Good. So I was gonna.
I'm sorry.
Keep coming
no,
back
I'm done.
I think you got more in there. You got more in there. I could feel it.
He tried to hype up they had a 24-year-old running back averaging 5.5. Like, bro, if you was a Lions fan and you watched some Lions games, let's be real. Swift wasn't doing it like he was supposed to be doing it. Yeah, and that fool was on a contract year, and we wasn't about to resign an injury-prone running back.
That's a big
My
point
bad.
right there. The fact that he was on his contract. No, we're gonna talk contract here in a second with this next part. I think I did want to what you just said. I had a number for it. So they bring up the 99 carries, which isn't a lot. 14 games he played in the last season, right? I counted. I went through, and this was counting targets. This wasn't even counting receptions. This was targets and carries. I want you to guess how many of those 14 games he had 10 or less attempts, meaning targets and carries in the game combined. 10 or less.
10 or less out of those 14 games. There was probably 6. I would say 6. 7 games. It was 10 or less.
7 games. You nailed it.
I know, because he would beat, bro. I watch our team. I dissect our team. I don't watch the game once. I dissect it. Yeah, Swift is suited up this week. Everybody, DeAndre Swift is suited up. Yeah, but he ain't in the game.
We always said that, like, there was like a lot of games where he was playing, but he wasn't really playing. The receiving side, one thing that I never liked is it always was made out like he was his dog.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I gotta tell you, and this is why I love you, mixed stats.
Go ahead.
Just those little stats right there, mixed stats. That's it, mixed stats. Go ahead, bro.
You could have had that stat. You already knew it. They always make it sound like Swift is like some dog is this receiving running back, and he's a solid receiving back, right? It's like his skill set of the quickness. You would expect that he'd be a really nice receiving back, but he's never been like amazing in that sense. So I want to put that out there as well. Like, for example, if you look at his PFF grades, just to kind of put it into context, like over the last 3 years, 69.4 in 2020, 58.5 in 2021, 66 in 2022. So that was just kind of a way to think about it. But I'll revisit that. I'll revisit that. I want to go to your point about drafting him where we did, because we'll touch on this probably again, but drafting him where we did. So let me read this next part of the article, because I think they say that. The Lions also certainly know how devalued the running back position has become. Okay, this part, I was like, oh, snap, they got me here. There's a reason only 12 running backs came off the board in the first round in the previous 10 drafts, and yet Detroit took the second best back on the board. Ooh, we about to go in here, Rad. Hold up. Second best back on the board in the 12 spot, with Swift on board at the time. I like how he did that. He flipped that. That was clean. And with other weaknesses still present, that's ridiculous. Okay, so let me stop right there. The first thing that I need to point out, right? So second best running back on the board. Everybody can have their own opinions. I think he's just a different running back than Bijan. Bijan was clean in a lot of areas, but I think as a receiving back, I would give him a higher grade there than I would as Bijan, just in terms of receiving. And I think that's where he's going to be huge for us. But I will point out, right? So the last time I was just looking back at these previous drafts to see who was drafted where. I look back 2017 draft. Okay, one guy was viewed, and I even just pulled up different scouting reports that were out there from like people that just did it. So according to the NFL did a scouting report 2017. The number one running back they had in that year, Rad, was Leonard Fournette. He went pick number 4, right? The number 8 running back in that draft, you know who that was? The guy that went second in that year's draft? That was given a 6.4 grade versus the 7.1.
Who was that?
Christian McCaffrey. But I was also looking through just to look at all 12 of those running backs the last 10 years. And I think one thing is interesting. I was looking at them. First off, I think a majority of them have hit. But I think when you start to read through, because not all of them maybe have, the guys that seemingly haven't, that have just like it just hasn't worked, are guys that don't bring, to me, a really high upside as a receiving back. Like the first round running backs that don't bring that real ability as being a pass catcher, I think especially in today's NFL, the issue becomes is that they're very dependent on a lot of other things if you don't bring another threat to the game. If you're not a third down back, that's like, I'm a matchup problem, because, receiver, it's like you're dependent on where the quarterback puts the ball. But if you can win your matchup over and over like that, it's just simple as that. But if my running back can't do that, now I'm dependent on what the O-lines can do, blocking, the scheme, and all those things, how they're loading the box. Who are my receivers? So when I was looking back, you look at a guy like Jonathan Taylor last year, did not have a very good season. You just said it. Jonathan Taylor, the best back out of that class. He's been an animal since he stepped in the league, but last year wasn't very good. It was a big time step back, and he was injured last season. But their offensive line regressed big time for the first time that it has. So for a guy like that, if he legitimately had a poor situation around him every single year, you're going to look at his numbers and you're like, man, that might be a miss. So when I was looking at all these backs, I'll go through them real quick. Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he was pick number 32. Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Rashad Penny, Sony Michel, Leonard Fournette, CMC, Zeke Elliott, Todd Gurley, and Melvin Gordon. What I noticed is all of these running backs, I was just checking. Let's start with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Okay. He, to me, you could argue is a miss, right? I mean, he came out hot and then it was a miss. Okay. Miss. Josh Jacobs, we'd say he hit. He hit in the NFL. Saquon hit in the NFL. He just hasn't been healthy. Rashad Penny.
Miss.
Okay. Yeah, miss. I agree there. Here's the issue with Rashad Penny. Guy has 27 receptions. I thought you said it. I thought you said it. I was like, wait a minute. Hold up.
Hell no, he's a miss. No.
Rashad Penny, though. Here's the issue.
You got quiet. I was like, what? I said miss.
I thought you said hit.
Are you thinking he's a hit? Like,
yo, you said that fast. I was like, okay.
Because I heard his name when you went through the list. Go ahead. My bad. Go.
You're good. Rashad Penny, though, right? So he's had 27 receptions in 5 years, and he's a clear miss. Sony Michel, hit or miss?
Miss.
He has had 56 receptions in 5 years. Okay, Leonard Fournette. Now, this one, I feel like you could argue both ways, but I will say this.
It's up and
it's
down.
Probably a miss because it was pick 4. But I'll say this.
Miss then,
he
yes.
made
Yeah,
value
pick 4
for
miss.
Tom Brady, right? He was valuable for Tom Brady because the last two seasons he was with Brady, he had over 100 receptions. Before that, he wasn't a big receiving back. So that's how he became very valuable for them. CMC, hit or miss, hit. We know he's a big receiving back. Zeke Elliott was a hit. Todd Gurley was a hit. Melvin Gordon was a miss. The guy had
no. Melvin Gordon was he was a hit. I'm sorry.
Okay, fine, called a hit. But either way, the point is he didn't have much of a receiving.
He's not a big receiving back. True. Yes, he's not a big receiving back.
If you like all the guys that are like Melvin Gordon, guys that are questionable, the guys that are clear misses, they didn't have a receiving aspect to their game. They were running backs. They just were known for, and I think there's just so many variables that go into that you know, like special guys, they could probably outdo that. But the issue is like if you don't have that ability, like we saw Jonathan Taylor, things can just take a step back, injuries because they're going to get the touches. And now I'm going to go to this last point. Well, it's not my last point, but it's like the last main point before we read the final part of this little paragraph. Because I know you touched on this about, first off, the contract. It's also very important to bring up with TJ Hockenson in that trade, right? Hockenson was going into, I think the final year of his contract. We talked about that, right? He's looking like he's going to get a huge extension, maybe the second highest tight end paid in the NFL. So you have to keep in mind the financial side is that you're going to have to pay the guy. It was the same thing with Swift. Either you were going to pay him after this year or you were just going to let him walk and get nothing for him. So you were kind of in that spot because unless you went absolutely insane this year, did something he's never done in the NFL, which he wasn't because you signed Montgomery. So he wasn't going to be that dude. Then he wouldn't have given you like a comp pick or anything, right? Financial side, that's something that's not brought up. But I think this is a huge part, right? So you talked about the injuries that he's gone through. I was just going through not numbers, but I found this article that was put up. It was according to the Football Guys, and they went through the lifespan of a running back. Now, this is recent. This isn't like 1950s. What was the lifespan? This is like now. What's the lifespan of running back? And when you look through, the lifespan of a running back is on average 2.5 years. That's the lifespan. And on top of that, the major decline is at 28 years old. Now, the peak is 24, 25, 26. You could argue Swift is kind of going into that, but he's already had the injuries that have hit him. And then you're looking around the league, right? We look around the league. Zeke Elliott, he had this huge contract. He has been released. Aaron Jones took a pay cut. Delvin Cook has been released. You could go through David Johnson. He got traded. Le'Veon Bell, he was released. Who's this? Oh, Todd Gurley. He never even played on the extension that he got was early. There's only, a handful of running backs that are making like legit money in the NFL. Alvin Kamara, receiving back, we talked about that. Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, he's like defying odds. Nick Chubb now, and then also Joe Mixon, and we'll see where that ends up playing out. But the point is like the shelf life isn't long. So when I look at the idea of drafting a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, look, he's got the 5th-year option because he's a first-round back. He might just be 5 years as a back. So that second contract, we'll see. He'll be 26 by that time. I don't know if he's going to get a second contract. But I don't think that's really important. It's like, what do we get out of these 5 years? Because with any draft pick, you're going to have to pay him. So the only advantage that you really have with any draft pick is that they've already been there. Maybe they just take an extension early. But if they're going to hit free agency anyway, and you're not going to pay him early because not a lot of teams like to pay running backs with multiple years left on their deal. In this case, you could pay Jahmyr Gibbs with the year left and the 5th-year option. Not a lot of teams like to do that because they know the shelf life isn't there. So if you're not going to do that, they're going to become free agents anyways for everybody. So like, there's really no advantage. The advantage we have is that obviously he's not on the cheapest side because he's running back, but it's just that we have the guy. To me, it's not about the second deal. It's just about the next 5 years, and you draft a running back that can come in and be great in the position that he's in. My bad, I was speaking a lot there, Brad. You got any thoughts on that?
You good? No. You just said mad points, bro. I'm cool with having Gibbs for the next 5 years as our running back, and then after that, we can figure it out. We may go out and draft another running back, and then Gibbs moves on. I'm cool with that. But for those 5 years, as long as he's producing for us and he's putting up, Kamara was a baller. He putting up Kamara type numbers. We won in that pick. Like, it is what it is. If the dude comes out and he's producing 1,500 total yards, we won. If he comes out and does 1,000 total yards, we won. If he comes out here and put up 1,500 total yards, bro, I feel like that was a great pick. And I believe he has the talent and abilities to do so. And with our offensive coordinator and our offensive line, I think he can shine. So,
hey, one final point. I just wrote this down because I was comparing Fournette and McCaffrey. So Jahmyr Gibbs is coming out. His college career, he played 3 years, 103 receptions, 1,212 yards receiving. That was his 3 years from Tech in Alabama. DeAndre Swift, when he was coming out, 3 years, 73 receptions, 666 yards. Okay, so there's a pretty big gap there. And if you look, Christian McCaffrey, when he was coming out, his stats are almost identical as a receiving back. 99 receptions, 1,206. Almost identical to Gibbs. Versus Leonard Fournette, when he was coming out in 3 years, 41 receptions, 526. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think the difference to me is just, can you be a big-time impactful receiving back? Because especially like now, you know, to what you said about the shelf life, I mean, you might get those rare backs like Henry where you want to just feed them, but most teams don't run just one running back. Like there's almost every team in the league has multiple running backs. So why would I want a running back that's just that? If I'm going to draft that high, I'd rather have the special running backs. Yeah, you're the pass catching guy. You're the matchup piece. Montgomery will be my workhorse. You be that guy. Then we can hopefully, elongate how long we can actually play you at this high level, because you're only 21. You don't have a ton of wear and tear. You've only played 3 years. Like that just makes sense that I would lean towards that skill set. To me, I would think you'd want to lean in this league. That's the skill set that I want to have. And then of course he's a good offset just in terms of speed and stuff like that. I'll read this final part. And this is what they said. Yes, they flipped Swift to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for some day 3 draft capital, but now there's less certainty in the offensive backfield. See that? Less certainty. Hey, you know, Swift, man, we knew exactly what we were getting. And they are stuck relying heavily on a player who will simply have a limited impact as a result of the nature of this pro football era. In 3 years or less, they'll almost certainly wonder about all the better routes they could have gone with that selection. Got any final takes on that, Red?
No, I'm done with him.
That's on me. I should have told you, like, hey, space it a little bit, because he's just gonna keep rolling.
I couldn't, man. I don't know. I think it's a great pick. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I like it. Okay, so the final point that I wanted to make, man, and this is I'll probably end up doing this deeper a little bit later. Maybe me and you will do it. We'll talk more defense, but so I had a topic in my notes. And I was calling it defense. Why I'm buying in. Now, the first episode we did, we talked it and I compared it to San Fran, and just because, you know, we've invested in D-line, we've got the vets at cornerback for less variables, as David Shaw put it. So we have those pieces. I like a lot of our pieces on paper. And then this year we had kind of a weird draft, but I think the draft was also kind of weird. You know, we went linebacker, we went slot corner / safety early. Defense, we took a nose tackle in round 3. So here's the question that I came up with, Red, and I'm going to ask you because maybe there's something that stands out to you, and then I'll give you what mine is that I came up with. Now, I know you didn't really have like a prep before this, so if you don't got nothing, don't worry about it. But there's a lot of things, you know, maybe you could just. What is the biggest thing the Lions need to fix? You don't necessarily have the answer of how you think they'll fix it, but what do you think is the biggest thing the Lions need to fix defensively heading into this season?
Everything. I mean, we were the worst ranked defense. No, honestly.
Wait, hold up. I thought this article had us top 10. Hold up. They posted it top 10.
I mean, we were the bottom of the barrel on defense. So, I mean, everything, I feel like. I'm going to say we got better the second half of the season, but staying consistent, getting off on third downs, getting off the field on third downs. That's what I would say. Defensively, like, if you get off the field on third downs, obviously they're about to punt the ball. So, and we struggled with getting off the field. There were some games last year where teams didn't punt. Like, all we need you to do is if we'd have made Seattle punt the ball once, we probably would have won that football game. You know what I mean? We're in the playoffs at that point. So that's what I'm going to say. Get off the field on third downs. That's what I think our biggest adjustment we need, because it just clicked. If we literally would have made Seattle punt the ball one time, because they couldn't stop us either offensively, but we did end up punting a couple times. But it's like, we beat them. We made the playoffs last year, and we don't know how it could have turned out because we was the hottest team in the NFL. So get off the field on third downs. Secondary was obvious, and I feel like we've brought in some pieces to help that. Mosley, Sutton, Gardner Johnson. We get T-Walk back. Joseph's in his second year. Jerry Jacobs is back healthy. So improve that secondary, which I think we did. We added somebody else on the second level in Jack Campbell, first round pick. And then we're getting back our defensive line. Romeo is going to be fully healthy. Julian's going to be healthy. Charles Harris is going to be healthy. We added Big Broderick, third rounder as a fat daddy. So I feel like we should be better defensively, but what we need to improve on is getting off the field on third downs.
So that's a great one. That's actually really good. The something that we do need to revisit, I think, is going through some of these draft picks and just speaking on like what role we think they're going to play. But there was like I was just trying to come up with a good one, like good idea, and I found a good number here. I want to share with you. So you know you're the guy, right? You know you played this game, you understand this. So I'm going to say this, and you tell me if this makes no sense at all. But here's kind of my thinking. Okay, so Lions last season, one number that stood out. We allowed, I don't know if you know this, 700 rushing yards to quarterbacks on 100 attempts. Okay, hey, that's actually more attempts than Swift. 7 yards per carry we allowed to quarterbacks. 7 touchdowns. So that was 32nd in yards per carry, and it was also the second most attempts we allowed for quarterbacks rushing. So we were terrible there. So that was the area I pointed to and said, this is the area the Lions have to get better. Now, here was my idea for a solution and how I think the Lions maybe – one part of the puzzle, we can revisit this on how I think they started to try to solve this. Drafting Broderick Martin. And here's my thought. I think the Lions need to find a way to gain back numbers defensively. Meaning I was watching a Seattle game today just to try to get ideas, trying to watch us play mobile quarterbacks. And I remembered some of those plays where, you know, not just the attention we had at DK, but when we would have to have both of our safeties help on DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And then all of a sudden we're playing man and Alex has the running back and there's no one accounting for Geno and he takes off and runs. I think we have to find a way against what the league is. We're seeing a lot of these teams, but also looking forward to who's going to be in our way, right? We're talking about playoffs. We're talking about winning division. So who's going to be our way? Who's in the playoffs we're going to have to deal with? One team we know we're going to have to deal with. We saw him last year. He ran all over us. Jalen Hurts, right? We know we got to have to deal with Philly, the San Franciscos. But the teams that can run the zone read and those kind of things with their quarterbacks, the options. So to me, I think drafting – Bears, they're in your division. You got to see them twice. That's a great one. So obviously Branch, you know what they can do. Those guys, they can give you an extra DB. You can play more 4-2-5, that kind of thing down the road. But I point to Broderick Martin because I think that potentially, could be wrong, another way the Lions could be looking to get a number back defensively is if they can ask, like you said, a fat daddy like Broderick Martin to against a team that has a tendency to do those kind of read plays, to have him two gap in situations, to try to free up a linebacker, which is why I think we drafted Campbell. He's going to have to deal with some blocks, free up Alex Anzalone. Malcolm's very good against the run. Like my whole vision is the 4-2-5 type of thing. I think the Lions sub package, it'll be Jack and Alex because Alex is really good in coverage. And then more of those base downs, you bring Malcolm in because he's going to shut down the run. They just don't like him for certain matchups. But you bring in Broderick because he can handle a little bit more of the assignments. And then what that can allow you potentially is to free up one of those linebackers, maybe just free up a body to have more eyes on the quarterback and have more attention there. But you have to have one of those big guys that you can ask to take on that assignment. And you put him maybe in a spot where they don't tend to run the football, right? You put him in one of those situations. But that way there's not a player for every maybe gap. And then you could potentially free up somebody because you know you're going to have to deal with that. If you don't have a solution for that, you're going to have a problem because those dudes are going to be in your way. And the Lions didn't really show they could stop it last year. So I think the Jack Campbells, Brian Brandt, and Broderick Martin all tie into that solution. Am I speaking crazy? Because I thought I nailed something there.
No, you did. I don't think you're speaking crazy just because, I mean, at that, we got three people that played three different levels of the game. And yes, we are going to be in more sub package. And yes, I get what you're saying. He's playing two gaps, freeing up people and things like that. Yes, it does make sense. I like it if we also played a little bit more zone. You play a lot of man.
Oh yeah.
You can run your DBs off and your quarterback takes off. So us just flipping to a little bit more zone and keeping our eyes on the quarterback, that's going to cut down on scrambling quarterbacks and things like that. You know what I mean? Because when you're in zone, you're watching the quarterback. When you're in man, you're mirroring your man. Your eyes aren't looking at the quarterback. We can run a bunch of 9 routes. Justin Fields takes off. Ain't nobody there. You see what I'm saying? So if we're in zone more,
and
more zone. Go ahead.
No, I was just I'm going to add to your point because I feel the Lions look like to me, you know, when I was watching like some of their last games like Green Bay, like they were a team that could win schematically, defensively. Like they played well against Rodgers, things like that. So to your point, keeping eyes on the quarterback, it's like we take from that Fangio tree, you know, that seemingly like, oh, they'll carry vertical to the safety. So linebackers, that way they can keep their eyes in the backfield, but they can handle underneath, but then they're going to pass it to somebody, that kind of thing. Like to me, maybe that's a way that they can, to your point, like even if they're not necessarily calling like a zone play, they can play those split field coverages, things like that. But they can still have eyes on the quarterback. But having a guy like Campbell that can slide out there with Alex, two guys that you're confident with in coverage with size that bring a presence, that you're not really worried about. You can have them keep eyes on quarterbacks, Brian Branch, and then they could potentially okay, hey, he's going vertical, give that off. Now you got to, step down basically. So I think, is that something that maybe you saw? Because I thought I saw that at the end of the year, like with Will Harris and things like that. And now we just need the bodies to fill it.
And now we got the bodies.
Look at that.
And now we're going to win the North. And now we're going to make it to the NFC Championship. And you heard it here on BLUE42 podcast, baby.
Why'd you stop? You're going to set the bar. Like, you're already setting the bar here. You can't. Because now you're putting a boulder in the way. All right. We're going to wrap this thing up, man. The BLUE42 podcast.
Hey, this was a great kickoff episode.
It was. It was fantastic.
It was fun.
Yes. Brad, man, you held it down. I appreciate it. This was good. Shout out to everybody that joined. However you're watching this, shout out to you, man. We're going to continue this. Let us know suggestions. And, I'm going to throw this in there. If you're watching to this point, feel free to email. All right. I'm using my email for now. This may change, but DoseBgaming. All right. It's DoseBgaming. No spaces, no capital, @gmail.com. Email me if you have any topic suggestions, anything you want us to talk about, NFL, Lions, college, or if it's a goofy off topic like the alien one, send it over. That way we can dive into it for some of these shows. So, you got anything else, man?
Nah, man. It was fun.
All right. Roll the outro, Rad. Let them know. This.